In this video, we're going to go over how to actually design emails with the new email builder. So there is a separate video on how to use the email builder in terms of creating a new email, how to send the email, the settings, etc. This video is purely how to actually craft and design the email with the builder here on this screen here. So we've started a new email from scratch here, so we can go through all the features and talk to you about the capabilities of what you can do with this email builder. So when we start with the blank template, we've basically got a layout here as an example. I'm going to delete this layout as well, and we're going to start from scratch. So a few things from here you'll see on the left-hand side is that you have content, which is created up of elements and layouts. So the elements sit within the layouts, so you're always going to start with one of the layouts here, and we'll talk through those first. So if, for example, I drag this layout here with the 1 onto it, we can drag it over here, and what that creates is a 1-column layout. So conversely, if I went back, I could drag this 2-column over, and this would create a 2-column layout. Right, now you can change them once they're there. So for example, this second one here, I can change it to a 1, I can change it to a 3 if I want, whatever I want to do with it, okay? Also, within the layers, you can adjust whether or not there's padding in each element area. So you can see when I turn this off, those elements become much more narrow. So we're going to turn it back on for this demo here. And if you do have the padding on, you can adjust the padding above each element by adjusting these numbers here. So for example, if I put this to top of 50, you'll see the difference there. I put that to 50 and you'll see the difference there. So particularly if you're trying to get things close together, turning that off is always a good option. Right, so we're going to leave that there. I'm going to put this back to 10 and 10, just like that. The background type is whether or not it appears full width or content width, right? So content width is basically this white area you see in the border here will just show the width of the elements, or full width, it goes the full width just there. Now that is of particular interest if you're doing different background colors. So for example, if we change the background color here to this red, for example, you can see the difference when you toggle between full width and content width. Now that's mainly going to affect how the email looks on desktop. On mobile, it's going to be a very narrow display anyway. Right, additionally, with the layouts, you can also put patterns. So for example, if we put this to full width, it's easier to see what's going on here. We can select a pattern just here, and you can select these pre-done ones here, and you can see that it's putting that pattern on that background, and you can make it to a stretch or repeat, which will alter the display if you're using it on a larger layout area. I've got quite a narrow one here. And then if you want to clear it from the custom one that you've selected down here, you just select none just here and it'll go back to nothing. Right, so let's go back out of that area here. And that's ultimately how you change your layouts. Now at any stage when you're using the editor, you can use the undo button here to undo any changes, or you can even redo what you've done. You can also save wherever you're up to. Every time you save, it'll save a revision of the email. Again, this is covered in the overall video about how to use this new email builder, but you'll find those revisions here in this version history here. So if you do make some changes and you've saved them, you come back to it later and you want to get back to them and you can't undo, you'll find that in the version history. Again, that's covered in a different video. So once we're happy with our layout, we click done back here and we come back to our elements. So within the elements, we have text, image, button, divider, social, and footer. Okay, so I'm going to add one more layout here so I can go through these for you. So I'm just going to leave that one as. So first of all, let's have a look at the text element. So if we drag a text element into the area we want it, we're going to drop this one just here. And then to edit this text, we click on it here in the middle, and then over on the left-hand side as well, we can edit it. And this brings up the text editor. So here, for example, you can adjust all the different formatting of the text up here. The one that you'll often use is just setting whether it's a heading or a paragraph, and you can see how it affects things by changing that. You can insert custom values here. So for example, if I wanted to put this to a paragraph and I wanted to address the person, I could say hi, space, and I could go custom values, and you can see you can get all the different custom values you would expect from your account, including your actual custom values that you've created. So if we go into contact, you've got all the usual options plus any custom fields that you've created. And if we wanted to say first name, it'll insert first name, and then we could say comma, and then we could continue writing our email. Really important to note that when you insert a custom value, it's going to come in italics. So if you want to change that, simply select all the text and click the italics twice, and then you see it goes back to normal just there. So whilst you're editing it over here, you can always see a live preview of actually what's going on just here. You can also insert trigger links into your email. So these trigger links are covered in another tutorial video about what they are, but you can insert trigger links directly into your emails here as well. Note that within the text editor, you again have the padding. So as you saw in the layout, it was the padding around the element areas. This is the padding of the element itself. So for example, if I change this padding to 100, you'll see that the padding of the text box itself is what gets larger there. So again, if you wanted to get things closer together, you can always turn that off. I'm going to leave it on. So that is the text editor. Once you're happy with what you've done, you can simply click done. I'm now going to show you the image and how that works. So I'm going to drag an image and put this one under here. With the editing of an image, you can either replace the image by hitting the replace here and upload a file directly in if you wanted to, or you can even grab an image URL from somewhere else and paste that directly in if you'd prefer to do it that way. So I'll show you that now. So for example, here we have a whole bunch of Star Wars GIFs of Yoda, and what you can do is you can grab an image by right-clicking on it, hit copy image address, come back into your email editor, paste that in here, and you'll find that appears right there. So that's the other way to put in images, is to actually just paste in the image address from your browser. Now there are other options here in terms of marking the alt text for the image as what it's labeled, the link if you actually want to make the image clickable. So for example, if you designed your own button or some reason you wanted to make it clickable, if it's like a preview of a video and it's a GIF in that sense, great idea to link to the video. You can also change the width and height here. So this will default to automatic, but you can adjust it. So for example, if I change this to 100, you'll see that it affects the image like that. Okay, so I'm going to leave it on automatic just here. Again, just like all the other elements, you can change the padding. You can also change the alignment of this, particularly if you're making it smaller. Once you're happy with that, you just click done to go back to that. Now note, once you've got two elements within a layout, you can very easily swap them around by dragging them around just like this. Okay, you can even drag an element into another layout. So for example, if I said I actually want this in the top layout, I can drag it up here, and I could drag this image into that top layout as well, just like this. So it's very easy to manipulate things around and put them where you want them to go. So once we're happy with that, we're going to go back and we're going to say done. I'm now going to show you the button element. I'm going to drag this down into our 3 row here. Now if I decided at this point I only want 2 rows, well I would click on the layout and put this back to a 2 column layout. I really don't like this red color I've put in, so I'm going to change that as well. We're going to make this a teal color, I think I would call that. And we're going to go done. We're going to go back to our button so I can show you how to format your buttons and create your buttons. So the text is simply here, so you can say, click. And then you can adjust the font size, the color, the styling of the text here, just here. The actions of the button, you have all these options here. You can make it an email link. You can actually make it a file, in which case if you select that option, you upload your file here, and then someone will download that file if they click that button. You can make it a telephone number so that the number will be called when someone clicks it, and you can choose an other action just here. Other actions is a feature in development, and we'll cover that in another video. You can of course also just put in a URL and put the link to where you want the button to go. I'm going to leave this blank just for the purpose of this tutorial. You can change the alignment of the button within the row of which it's in, right? So you see if I put this left or right, you can see how it moves within the column, within the column that it's in. So I'm going to leave that on center. You can change the background color of the button. You can put a border on the button if you like, and you can adjust the border width, and you can see that effect just here. And I can make that stand out a little bit more if I made that border white. Okay, so that doesn't look fantastic, but you get the idea. The radius is simply the curvature of that border, so if I put that to 1, you can see it basically goes square, and the more I slide that over, it basically turns it rounded. Again, you can put padding on or off, and that's going to put the padding around the button just like that. Now, the other thing you can do with elements, and this is a good example of it, is you can copy an element to reuse it somewhere else in your email. So in this case, I've got this button here all formatted just how I want it, and I can hit this copy button, and then I could drag this into my other column into my other column just here, and I could change that button to be other text, right? And then I could adjust the link of that to be different, but the styling is now identical to the other button I've got just there. So that's how you use buttons. The dividers, very simple. You simply drag them to where you want them to go, and then you can change the format of that divider. Okay, so it's simply a dashed, dotted, or solid line as you feel fit. So there's a dotted line, for example. I could match my color just here. And you can change the width of it in terms of the percentage of the area it covers, and you can change the height of it in terms of the thickness of that divider. And once again, our padding option is there depending on how tight we want things together. So if I wanted to, I could actually switch it off, which is going to make it a lot narrower. Okay, let's go back. That's the dividers. The social element, if we drag this one in here, for example, okay, that's going to present your social elements, right? So the way this works is that it will default to show Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Google+, and Pinterest. However, you can delete the ones you don't want, and you can also add additional. So for example, if I wanted to turn off Google and Pinterest, I could just delete them. And I can also click Add, and I can add other networks, including WhatsApp, LinkedIn, your website, and YouTube. And when you add these in, it'll add the actual custom icon for that. You'll notice that the YouTube icon just appeared on the preview just over here. Now, the icon styles is basically how that's going to look. It matches all the styling. So for example, if I click this black one, you'll see it changes all the icons to black. The color, it appears in the color of that social media platform. Now within each network you select, so just to re-explain that, I'll go back a step. So here's my Facebook, for example. I can hit edit on this. I can change the URL. So for example, I would put the URL of my Facebook page or my Facebook group there. And I can also add in supporting text if I wanted to. The supporting text is not going to display by default. However, if you go down to here under the display option, you can choose to display either icon and the text, and you can see what's happened here. And it's updated the supporting text to actually say Facebook group that I've put there. Or you can make it just display the text on its own. Right, I'm going to leave this one on just the icons themselves. And once again, we have our option as to whether or not we want to turn the padding on or off. I'm going to leave the padding on. So you can do that for each element of your social. If you have an icon that you want linked up that's not included here, you can simply choose other, or custom rather, custom just here. And what you can put in is the URL, of course, the same, the supporting text, but here, what you'll need to do is put a URL, as I explained a moment ago with images. You'll need to copy the image address to put in an icon URL just there, okay? Otherwise, it'll just default to the default link icon that you can see here in the preview over here on the right. So that's how to construct your social, just here. And then finally, the last element we have is the footer. So if you drag the footer into a layout area, it will basically give you a template on a footer that's mostly ready to go. It's going to insert copyright, the year of whatever it is. Your location name is going to be your company name that you've set in your account settings. The mailing address will be your email as set in your account company settings. And this unsubscribe link just here, if we go over to the text editor, what that's linked to is the email unsubscribe link. So if you're using Mailgun for what's sending your emails, then you'll be able to create a trigger that when someone clicks that unsubscribe, it actually marks them as DND or takes whatever other actions you want to do. So that's something you would set in triggers. This option to add the footer element is simply to give you a kickstart in creating your own footer. So you can, of course, once you've set that up, you can style this to however you want. So for example, you could select the whole thing, you could put it into centered, you could then change the text colors, add your own background color to this whole area, totally up to you as to how you build that out. So that's all the elements of how that works. So we've covered the layouts, we've covered the elements. The last thing we're going to cover here is the appearance settings. So here, what we're changing is overall, like the macro settings, if you like, of the area. So for example, if I change the background color here, you'll see that that's the background color of the background of the whole email, if that makes sense, right? The body color, if we change this one, you'll see is the default body color of the layouts themselves, right? I'm going to put that back to white just here. The content width is if you've built your design with layouts to just the width of the layout, you can adjust how wide your emails show up. So for example, I put this to 300, you'll see how it makes the email quite tiny, even on a desktop. So that'll default to 600, and I'm going to leave mine on 600. Text style is how you set the default settings of your paragraphs. So if you set something to paragraph, you can choose how that will show up just here. And you'll notice here, because I use the paragraph in my elements, when I make changes, it changes the whole email. Same, you can set the default text for your headings, heading 1, heading 2. You can set your line height. You'll notice here, for example, if I extend that, you see the line height gets much bigger. I'm going to put that back to 1.25. The text link color, if you actually insert a link into your email, you can change the color of that link just here. And you can change the link style to bold, italic, or underline. By default, it'll just be set to underline. You can set the default colors and fonts and sizes for your buttons, and same, you can do the same thing for the default colors of your dividers. So what this is doing is it's creating the standard of whatever will appear when you first drop a divider in. You can, of course, customize your dividers as shown just a couple of moments ago. So that is the appearance side of it, and we've now covered layouts, elements, and appearance. And finally, just to wrap this up, this is shown in the initial video about how to use this whole email builder in terms of sending emails, but up here in Actions, you can hit the preview button here. You'll notice that if you hit it before you've saved, you will lose your changes, right? So make sure you hit save before going to the preview area. Once you have saved your changes, you won't get that warning, and it'll open up this area here, and you can have a look at what your email will look like on desktop, tablets, and mobile. So that concludes this video instruction on how to actually design your emails. If you're looking for how all the other functions in this email builder work, check out the other video, which is all about the new email builder itself, and that'll show you how to do all your settings, create your emails from scratch, and all the options you have in terms of sending them off.